I wanted to give you a sneak preview of a new newsletter project we're about to launch. It's called Ownership Matters. The idea is that fundamentally we need to make sense of the growing landscape, cooperatives, employee-owned firms. As more and more of us realize the racial wealth gap, the environmental imperative we have, we know we need to shift our capital. I've personally been on a journey trying to shift to more cooperative-owned enterprises, divest from conventional stock market, exploitative, extractive kind of industries and sectors and companies. But it's hard to make sense of this landscape. I was just on the phone with a group of two philanthropists and a couple Catholic impact investors, and we each had our own view on what's happening. And is it CDFIs, the different funds. The hope with this newsletter is to cover the emerging landscape of entrepreneurs, people on the move, funds that are being created like Apis and Heritage Legacy Business Fund, like Project Equities Fund, some of the work of Quechua Impact Fund, the Equitable Economy Fund out of Start.coop. There's so many exciting enterprises, and there's also so many exciting entrepreneurs like the Industrial Commons. I was just doing a conversation with Molly Hemstreet, the founder there, and the different capital they're looking for, and how that compares with Joseph Curitin from Obron in Baltimore, and the terms they're accepting for their fund to do employee ownership conversions. As we see this landscape evolve, and one of my colleagues was saying, my grandfather has a business he's looking to sell. I think more and more of us are appreciating the opportunity of the silver tsunami of the baby boomers that are retiring and the small businesses that are going out of business, that are either closing down if they don't have a transition plan. And so the opportunity to do more employee ownership is so significant. And at the same time, we realize the racial justice imperative to distribute ownership and wealth more broadly. And how do we do that? I think distributing business ownership by employee stock-owned plans as one option. There's lots of tax advantages to ESOPs, but there's all other forms of employee ownership, from employee-owned trusts and perpetual purpose trusts that are being innovated on. So where do you play? Who are the people on the move? How do you think about the impact of these kind of firms? How do co-ops get started? How do they grow? Which ones are focused on growing? We hear about the established cooperative movement so often. We think of food co-ops or REI, consumer co-ops or agricultural or credit unions. That's an important part of the sector. But there's so much emerging in local communities everywhere. And how do you find which co-ops to invest in? And I have little angel circles, groups of friends that want to invest in co-ops. I think Resource Generation is doing an amazing job of helping folks that want to shift their capital and wealth to projects that support more locally rooted, place-based investment opportunities. How do you find those? How do you look for those? What are the tools of slow money to kind of reroute and kind of the agricultural kind of soil? How do we learn from ecosystems as we do this work? So this newsletter has a lot to cover. I'm super excited about it. It's going to be a place where I spend a lot of my time recording interesting conversations with interesting people. But I wanted to reach out to you to ask, who are you following? What's the most interesting, exciting fund that you've seen recently? Who's somebody who you think's innovating in important ways at the intersection of democratic shared ownership, democratic business ownership? Where's the cutting edge of impact finance in the community development finance community? We're open to all those kinds of things and much more. So I hope you'll stay tuned here. If you're interested, drop a link in the comment here. Your email address, you can email me, and we'd love to include you in the early issues of this newsletter coming out in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for Ownership Matters. It's a collaboration between the Economy of Francesco and Start.coop and a few other partners as well. We look forward to sharing it with you.